Helen Haines, the vibe around Parliament House today is weirdly positive about the Labor anti-corruption body. People who've been following this issue for a while and who are advocates for the cause seem to be pretty optimistic. What's your feeling?
Laura, I'm encouraged too. As you know, this has been 10 years in the calling for, and almost all of the running has come from the crossbench. The only legislation we've seen in the Senate or the House has come from the crossbench, and I'm very encouraged by what I've heard the Attorney-General say thus far about the legislation we'll see on Wednesday.
Have you got any specific undertakings from the Attorney-General so far?
Well, yes. Fundamentally, the design principles that the Attorney-General have put forward align very closely with those that I had in my Australian Federal Integrity Commission bill. So those really important issues like broad jurisdiction, like a good definition of corruption, retrospectivity, one set of rules for all, for example, they're going to be there. I had some other concerns, though, and I sought assurances via a letter to the Attorney-General about those. Things like statutory oversight, budgetary independence, third parties, and I'm encouraged by what the attorneys told me about those things.
So let's talk through what viewers should be looking for when we finally see the legislation late tomorrow, particularly on Wednesday. You've mentioned some of those issues, but first of all, what do you think are the crucial features of the bill? And then we might reverse engineer them and consider how they might be, how they might have worked in recent times. You mentioned the definition of corruption. Can you explain to us what that is likely to look like and how it might compare, say, with state anti-corruption bodies?
Yeah, sure. So it will be, I understand, a broad definition of corruption. Well, the Attorney has said so. It will be serious or systemic corruption. It doesn't need to meet a bar of criminality, such as what we were arguing with the previous government about. That's really important. So that's going to be there. We're going to see, I think, broad powers in terms of the capacity for this commission to compel witnesses, to have the capacity to undertake investigations in a way that's aligned with the Royal Commission. Really important to be able to do that. That third party element is also extremely important, and I was very encouraged by what the Attorney-General said today in question time around this. So any person that seeks to adversely influence a public official to do wrong will be covered by this bill.
So just unpacking that a bit on the sort of serious and systemic question, for example, Barry O'Farrell and his bottle of Grange is unlikely to have been covered by that.
Absolutely unlikely. You know, the great advantage of really the long wait to finally get a federal anti-corruption commission is that I think we've all learnt a lot by the state and territory anti-corruption commission. So the Barry O'Farrell case would never make it past first base. It's neither serious nor systemic. And
in a similar way, people might not know exactly, or might be put off a bit by the third parties lingo. What this is really talking about is the fact that the Commission would be able to investigate both sides of a transaction, if you like, not just the government or public service officials, but also the non-government player, if you like.
Absolutely. And this is really important. It really is, Laura. We need to know where corruption is coming from, and that shouldn't exclude any person or persons or organisations who may be seeking to corrupt government.
What about the very contentious issue over the last few years about public hearings and this idea of a kangaroo court that the Coalition has put around? How do you think public hearings would work in a way that people could feel reassured that they were protected unless there was something really serious to look at?
Yeah, look, this is really important. It's crucial that any commission worth its salt has the capacity to undertake a public hearing if it's in the public interest to do so. So the Commissioner would need to be satisfied that this was such a serious allegation of corruption that the public needed to see and hear what was going on. The safeguards in this bill, I hope, and I feel pretty reassured that they will be there, that any person who is brought before the Commission has the opportunity to put to the Commissioner why they think they should have a private hearing. And likewise, throughout the course of any investigation that was public, that again, any witness could go to the Commissioner and give a case as to why they should be considered for a private hearing. That's really important if it was perhaps a junior staff member who was caught up in an investigation, is perhaps an example of that. But the safeguards need to be there, of course. But likewise, we need to be able to shine a light into dark places, and the public needs to have trust that they can see what's going on.
Well, it must be encouraging to you that the coalition's generally expressing support for this. It seems that we're all moving ahead. How important will it be, or how important will the crossbench be in shaping the legislation from now on? How can you be sure you'll get a seat at the table if both parties are agreeing, both major parties are agreeing? Well,
look, straight up, the crossbench have been highly influential already. Those assurances that I've sought from the Attorney-General that I just mentioned have come from the crossbench. Things like, the independence of the Commission being protected through strong statutory oversight. I think all of those design principles have come from crossbench bills, from my bill, for example. I really welcome that the coalition now are engaging. I hope that is in good faith. I think the ideal scenario would be to see a strong anti-corruption commission that was unanimously supported by both houses. Wouldn't that be ideal? And wouldn't that grow the trust of the community? Really important. So, no, the crossbench have been crucial from the get-go. They'll continue to be. We'll have a joint select committee looking into this bill. There'll be opportunities for submissions and witnesses. Crossbench will be there all the way to the finish line.
Well, finally, just going back to the question of how this would have worked in terms of some of the recent controversies, things like the Leppington Triangle, some of the various Rorts funds, would this commission have dealt with those quickly, and will it still have the capacity to deal with them retrospectively?
Well, again, we haven't seen the bill itself yet, Laura, but the assurances I've received from the Attorney-General are a yes to those things. Importantly, this capacity for a commission to initiate its own investigations, own motion investigations, mean that they can take a broader look at things like discretionary grant programs, maladministration, as I like to call it, but the punters call it pork barrelling. Yes. Something like the Leppington Triangle, yes, I think this commission will have the power to do that, and it's really important that we can do that.
Helen Haines, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks very much, Laura.